Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to create some adorable little treat boxes for Christmas. These gingerbread treat boxes are so simple to make using a cut file and scoreboard box. In this video, I'll share a few Cricut Design Space tips and show you how these gingerbread boxes come together. Before we create the project, I want to talk to you about the coordinating cardstock from Hip Kit Club. Each month there is a collection of cardstock colors that pair beautifully with the Hip Kit. These are a medium weight cardstock that's dual-sided. On the front you will find a solid color with a fabric-like pattern, and on the back there is a lovely stripe pattern. Each month the patterns vary, but they always match the Hip Kits perfectly. Today I'm going to show you how to use one of the November cut files to create some delightful gingerbread treat boxes for the holiday season. In the description below, I've added a link to the November cardstock kit, along with a link to the cut file and additional supplies I'm using today. You will need to cut out 2 solid house pieces from the craft texture cardstock. These have been mirrored so that the front of the box matches the back. I've also cut out 4 decorative layers from white cardstock, again to have been mirrored to match the backer on the house. You're also going to need a piece of 8" by 8" pattern paper or cardstock to create the box, and I'll show you how to make that here in a moment. Before we assemble the project, I want to share a few Design Space tips to help you recreate these layers you need for the boxes. The Hip Kit gingerbread cut file includes 3 gingerbread box shapes. I chose this one here because the square shape is more conducive to a box shape. Before I resize this, I want to layer the decorative piece over the solid house shape and center them. Then I will group the 2 images together. This will ensure that both pieces are sized proportionately to one another. I sized these to 3.75 inches wide to fit the box. And I've duplicated the group so that I would have a front and a back for the box. Before you cut these out, you will need to flip one of the gingerbread groups. This will create a mirror image of the pieces. Now you can send these to the machine and cut everything out. When you remove these from the cutting mat, don't forget to keep the 3 window frames and the doorknob. I cut these from white cardstock, but you can also cut them from another color of cardstock or a pattern paper. All right, let's make one of those adorable little gingerbread treat boxes. I'm going to start by adhering 2 of the decorative pieces together. This just gives us a thicker layer without having to use foam tape. Instead of using liquid adhesive, you could also layer an adhesive sheet to the back of your cardstock before you cut these pieces out. These little treat boxes would make wonderful little decorations at a Christmas dinner table. At our house, we don't sit around the dinner table on Christmas, so I plan to place them in a row down the center of our table. Our home is a small, cozy place, so we've decided to just let everyone sit wherever they can find a seat. In the comments below, I would love for you to share how you enjoy the holiday meals together. Do you all sit around the dinner table together as you enjoy a meal, or do you have more of a serve yourself style and everybody sits where they want? When I was cutting these boxes with the machine, I showed you how to mirror these images. When we place these on either side of the box, the chimneys are going to line up. Now, if you choose not to mirror them, the chimneys are going to end up looking like this. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. I just like the way they look with the chimneys lined up. As I adhere these in place, I would love it if you tap that subscribe button and let me know that you're new here. If you're already a subscriber, let me know that you enjoyed today's project by tapping the thumbs up icon or leaving a comment below. I would love to know if you're going to try to make a few of these gingerbread treat boxes and add them to your holiday table. I'm going to repeat the layering process with the windows and the doorknob. I find that it's easier to layer the pieces directly onto the houses rather than adhere the small pieces together separately. This design is rather simple, but there are many alternative ways to put these together. You could cut the window frames and door from another color of cardstock, or shade them with pencils, ink, or paint. If you wanted them to have a distressed or vintage look, you could add some darker ink on the edges or cover the houses with paste using a brick stencil. Here in a moment, I'll share another house I added sparkle to. These treat boxes would also make charming little shakers. Just add some acetate behind that decorative layer, some confetti candy canes, snowflakes, or Christmas sequences, and you have a fun little shaker gingerbread house. All right, now that these are put together, I'm going to show you how to create the box for this project. We are going to be making a scoreboard box using an 8 by 8 inch piece of candy cane cardstock. I also created the box in Cricut Design Space using shapes and score lines and cut lines. I used the scoring tool to make the score lines on this piece and created those tiny little cuts using some lines and shapes. Instead of showing you how to make this with the cutting machine, I'm going to show you how to create the box with a scoreboard. I actually prefer to use a paper cutter and bone folder because that's what I have on hand. We're going to place the edge of this square at the 2.5 inch mark and create a score line that goes from the top to the bottom. We're going to flip the cardstock onto the opposite side and create the exact score line. Place that edge at the 2.5 inch mark and create your score line. We're going to repeat this on all 4 sides. Each score line should be 2.5 inches from the edges. When all the score marks have been added, you will have a 3 inch by 3 inch square in the center and 4 2.5 inch squares on the 4 corners. Now we need to make the tabs that adhere the sides together. To do this, you're going to place your cardstock at the 2.5 inch mark and create a score line from the top to that top score line here. You're going to repeat this at the base of the cardstock. The score line will go from the lower score line down to the bottom edge. These 2 lines are repeated on the opposite side. Rotate your cardstock, place the edge at the 1/2 inch mark, then score from the top to the first score line and from the bottom up to the second score line. This is what your cardstock should look like with all the score marks. Each box in the corner should have a vertical score mark 1/2 inch from that 2.5 inch score mark. Now we're going to cut out these 4 rectangles. You can use a paper cutter, but I tend to do much better with a craft knife and a ruler. My cuts will be right along the outer score lines. Don't cut off that 1/2 inch scored strip or it will remove the tabs. The next step could have been combined with the previous step, but I didn't want to cause confusion. We're going to make some 1/2 inch cuts to create our tabs. Once again, I'm using a craft knife. I'm going to create my cut along this score line and end at the horizontal score line. This cut should not be longer than a 1/2 inch. This box is a very basic design, but if you're an expert box maker, you could add angled cuts or create an entirely different box design. I know that most of you will be making multiple treat boxes, so I chose to keep this box simple so that it would be easy to put together. Hip Kit cardstock is dual-sided, so you can choose to use the striped side or the solid side. I like these candy cane stripes because they pair well with the gingerbread house design. I'm going to fold on every score line towards the center and use my bone folder to burnish the folds. I chose to create the boxes from a medium weight cardstock because the treats I plan to add are going to be a little heavier. You could also cut this from pattern paper. Hip Kit's paper is thick enough to hold up to some of the weightier treats you might add. When I create paper boxes, I like to have the open edges hidden. If I were to fold this up and bring it over like this, I will have an open edge on the side of the box that's going to be showing. Now those little chevron designs are really cute, but I don't like the look of that open edge. To hide the open edges, I'm going to tuck these behind so that my open edge is hidden behind the gingerbread house. This creates a nice clean side of my box. I'm going to adhere this together with liquid adhesive. You can also use double-sided tape. I would not recommend that you use a tape runner. The sides might come undone once the treats are added. When you shop for treats, the inside measurement of the box is 3 inches by 3 inches, giving you quite a few options. I haven't decided if I'm going to fill the treat bags with candy or add a little orange to each one. Maybe I'll create a little bag filled with chapsticks or lotions or hand sanitizers. There are quite a few possibilities here. All right, there is the little box for our treat holders. The stripes are on the outside and the solid color can be seen in the box. Before we add the gingerbread houses, I want to add a few decorations. At this point, you are only limited by your imagination. I'm going to use some puffy stickers and foam stickers from the November Hip Kits. When you're decorating these with stickers, just remember that most of the collections only have one sticker design of a tree or a heart. If you prefer that both sides look exactly the same, you might want to cut out some decorations with your cutting machine or with dies. I'm going to keep this really simple with 2 little potted plants and hearts. You could also add a tree, a wreath, a snowman, or some of the little critters in the kit. Now that we're finished, we're going to adhere the gingerbread houses to the sides of the box. Remember, we want to place these over that open end on the box. The house does have rounded edges, so make sure that the box you're creating is a little bit smaller than the house, so that the pattern paper in the corners doesn't show at the base. I'm going to add some treats, then share this creation and another box I made to inspire you when you create your own projects. Here are 2 little treat boxes filled up with candy. I closed up each treat bag with a bow and added some of the vellum die cuts as a tag. The only item I added to this box here are some lights in the corner, which made them even cuter. My second treat box was assembled like the first, but instead of that decorative layer being all white, I cut the windows and door from candy cane cardstock. Instead of the round window, I added a striped heart sticker, which made it even cuter. I also added glitter by brushing some stardust butter from the color kit onto that decorative layer. This makes it look more like frosting, don't you think? Today I shared a simple treat box project that you can make using a cut file from Hip Kit Club. These delightful gingerbread boxes took very little time to create and are easy to decorate with the cardstock collection in the kit. You can choose to create very simple houses with white cardstock and a few little sticker decorations, or enhance your designs with multiple colors of cardstock and glitter. I hope that you enjoyed today's holiday table treat box designs and share with me what you plan to fill them with. If you're one who likes to pin photos to inspiration boards, I have added still shots of these treat boxes in the Hip Kit Facebook group and on my website for you to use. I want to thank you for joining me for another project. If you would like to see more of my creations, you can visit my channel or follow Miss Carrie's Creations online. If you have any questions about this project or supplies listed below, feel free to leave me a comment. I hope you have a wonderful week and I can't wait to see what you create.